Daily and Ellie captured us drinking this wonderful lemon balm tea on 420. So today we're going to be talking about cannabis, weed culture, where things are at in 2023. Pleased to be joined by a guest who's been on many years ago, a cannabis activist called Trev Coleman. We'll bring him in a moment. Before we do, usual housekeeping. If you want to support our work, you can go to patreon.com/cowdaily. That's patreon.com/cowdaily. Link in the description for PayPal if you want to make a one-off contribution to our work. That'd be much appreciated. Also, if you could please share the stream, that would be much appreciated. Like, comment, all that good stuff. Help with the algorithm. That would be very much appreciated. Also, if you would get your questions in the comments for Trev, anything you want to ask him, feel free to answer any questions. He's very knowledgeable about the subject, and we're very pleased to have him here. So without further ado, I'll bring him in. How are you doing, Trev? You all right, pal?
Gannon Youngin, how's yourself?
I'm all right, mate. Aye, not bad. Feeling healthy for once, so, I'll take it. What about you? What's been going on in your world, pal?
Not a lot as of late, apart from getting turned over.
Did you get raided?
No, I had half a dozen idiots trying to break into my house with machetes.
No way. What, because of...
Oh, yeah, I'm sat here with no back door, no windows. They couldn't get in, because they couldn't get past me, they done me front.
No way. Was this recently?
Yeah, literally about 4 to 6 weeks ago, something like that.
Bloody hell, mate. So is no problem since?
No, not a thing. Just I think it's just been one of those things. I thought I'm actually under a suspended at the minute. I've obviously thought I was up to my old tricks and decided to come and turn us over, but those were all in the house. So.
Right, well, we'll pick up on that in a bit, because I didn't know that was going on for you. Basically, what we're going to talk about today, just for people who are just joining the stream, is sort of where things are at with cannabis activism, which you've been involved in for the longest time, as long as I've known you. I think that's probably how we got on to each other, wasn't it? Because you were a guest some time ago. Really just a follow up today.
Yeah, I mean, that's when we first got talking, it was when I was actually with Teesside Cannabis Club at the time, and we just broke the news on the decrim in Durham that the Nationals jumped all over. Yeah. There's been a lot of things happened since then. I've actually got to thank you for that interview, because that one was meeting a young lad called Simpa Carter, who, as far as I'm concerned, he's one of the most knowledgeable around, and anybody wants to check him out, simpalife.com.
Very good. Nice plug.
He is. He's a really good kid. He's done a hell of a lot of good work across this area. In the years that I was with Teesside Cannabis Club, we did a hell of a lot. I mean, we did something like 3 TV appearances. One where Jeremy Kyle actually came to visit us. I
remember that actually.
That was quite funny.
Actually, Trev, before we get into all this, I probably should throw this up on the screen, right? Just for the likes of YouTube and all of that. Obviously, there's rules on like cannabis and things like that. Obviously, in a place where you are at the minute, which is it makes it legal. So what it says up here on the screen, I'll just read it out. So if anybody from YouTube is watching this, I am actually a journalist, believe it or not. I can show you my credentials. It says here on this article we took from cannabolish.com, the new rules state that any such content must be presented in a journalistic manner, objectively, without glorification, and with the intent to inform or educate. And it also says, can you smoke weed on YouTube? It's tricky. Any content which portrays the abuse, purchase, manufacture, sale, or discovery of drugs in a graphic and detailed manner is likely to draw negative attention from the platform. So we have both agreed we're not going to smoke weed on camera at all, even though we both do smoke weed. So thanks for smoking weed before you came on camera. Thank you very much.
That's quite yeah. I've had about 100 milligram of oil this morning as well, so I'm in a really nice place just now.
So just on that, I mean, why do you smoke weed? Like, is it recreational or medical or both, or what's the crack?
It's essentially both. I mean, I obviously came to it through recreational use. But I remember that very first time I used it, the sleep I got that night through the various aches and pains, because I've got a stenosis in my lumbar, degenerative disc disease, early onset arthritis. I had one of the best nights sleep I'd had in years, and it was that led to us to the discovering the medical side.
Yeah.
Once I discovered the medical side, I discovered the industrial side, and I have to say, I mean, beyond pain relief as a drug, it doesn't really interest us that much. It was actually the energy sector that brought me to reform, because I think that one is far more vital right now.
So you've sent us so a few like images. So you're referring to this in particular?
This in particular, yes.
Can I just read out for the audio people what it is? So we've got a slide that that Trevor sent, and it's hemp biodiesel 100%, and there's a couple of jars with it in. Can you just explain what that is?
This is diesel made from hemp, made from weed.
Yeah.
The way you do that is you pollinate the plants. That creates seeds. Squash the seeds. That gives you the seed oil, which you then combine with ethanol made from the sticks and stems, and that makes biodiesel. So now for me, this is the main reason that cannabis is illegal. It's got nothing to do with the drugs aspect. It's got all to do with our economy.
Right.
Now, if you look at world economies,
I mean, just clarify from a journalistic perspective, is that like your opinion, like anecdotal, or could you evidence that?
This is my opinion, but there is evidence to back it all up.
Cool, man.
Now, if you've got a choice between the basic question, if you've got a choice between filling your car with diesel from Saudi Arabia or from Joe Bloggs, a local farmer down in Heaton, which one are you going to choose?
Well, I mean, straight away, you're going to choose the local, aren't you? If
exactly. So what does that do for?
Well, you're asking me. I would. I'm not sure if like the public would though, because of education.
Yeah, I mean, your petrol from Saudi is costing you what? I think it's about 160-170 per litre at the minute. If you're getting it from your local farmer at 50 pence per litre, which one are you going to choose?
Straight away, I mean, you're going cheaper, aren't you?
Exactly. Now, what does that do for Saudi Arabia, for Norway, for Russia, for the petrodollar? You're going to need some freedom when you start doing stuff like this.
Yeah, I get you. So basically, I mean, as we know, I mean, what you're insinuating there is like, obviously war tends to follow either scarcity or a change in fuel source and whatever. So you've seen that a lot of it's about like sort of geopolitics and people like, and the decision makers obviously being hand in glove with the oil companies.
Exactly. I mean, if you go back to the original court case for cannabis prohibition, the timber industry was actually a massive driver of this.
Right.
Because there was a gentleman called Randolph Hearst who was he was the Rupert Murdoch of his day.
Yeah.
He had massive timber interests, which cannabis was undercutting because you can obviously make paper from the sticks and stems.
Yeah.
So once cannabis was out of the picture, the stock value of his timber went right up, as did the price of petrol. The petrol, what do you call it, like petrol products. I can't think of the word.
I know what you're saying, like petrol related products, things made from oil. A lot is made from oil, plastic, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Now look around. Just look around you now. Like I mean, I'm just looking at you now. Like now, I always say plastics, paints, varnishes, nylons, all that sort of thing. All of that is made from oil.
Frame me glasses.
And all of that can be all of that can be replaced with weed. So
like,
a resource that offers abundance.
Let's take me glasses. Are the hemp frames available now for glasses?
Oh, yeah, plenty of them all over the world.
I'm doing you a pair. Actually, I'm gonna have a look, see what's about. Like.
Honestly, I was down in I think it was a pound shop not so long ago. Yeah, a Poundland actually, and they had these hemp loofah things. I mean, there's literally anything that you can think of that you can make from a petrochemical, you can make from weed. One of the very last orders for anything hemp related before prohibition kicked in was a consignment of hemp seed oil to be turned into varnish. Right.
Okay. That's interesting, man. So you've sent some slides, Trev. I'm going to lob another one up for you, mate, and we'll have a look at this one. So I'll read it out for the audio people who can't see this. We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black, but is that blacks there because it's covered over?
Yeah.
But by getting the public to
all
associate, okay, mate. But by getting the public to associate with hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. Right. This is Nixon policy advisor John Ehrlichman. First thing I'm going to ask you, Trev. Have you corroborated this quote? Is that because it seems to me like, wow, that's really candid? Is that like an attributed quote to Ehrlichman?
It was in Rolling Stone magazine.
Right. This is not me disputing you, but I've got to ask these things for the purposes of the show. You know?
This was done away. He told this to an interviewer for Rolling Stone magazine in 1995. Now, the next slide you want to be bringing up is the one about terrorism.
Okay, I'll go to that for you. 2 seconds, mate. Got it, yeah. Right. I'll read it out first, just so the audio people have got it, right? So it says here, what is terrorism on the slide? There's no agreed definition of terrorism internationally. The UK's Terrorism Act 2000 defines terrorism as the use or threat of action designed to influence the government or an international governmental organisation or to intimidate the public or a section of the public made for the purposes of advancing a political, religious, racial or ideological cause. And it involves or causes serious violence against a person, serious damage to a property, a threat to a person's life, a serious risk to health and safety of the public, or serious interference with or disruption to an electronic system. There you go, Trev. Why did you send us that, mate?
Right. Simply go back to the John Ehrlichman quote. And that whole quote, you've got criminal conspiracy, fraud, and terrorism all in one. Now,
you want to break down why terrorism? Like, why would you say?
Bring that slide back up then. The John Ehrlichman one.
I'll leave it on the screen for you, right?
Yeah, right. No, the John Ehrlichman one.
No problem, mate.
Yeah, the John Ehrlichman.
Right, we'll just go back.
Right, there you go.
Is it up? I'm just a bit of a lag on my side there. There you go, pal.
There you go. Right. So the use of force against with a racist, racial, religious, ideological, or political motivation. What have you got there?
I get what you're saying. So would you suggest that like it's government-led domestic terrorism based on the definition of terrorism you've provided?
100%, and it's all been legally checked.
Man, like, so who's the people who've done the legal checking and that kind of thing? Like,
I've gone over this with several people. I mean, when I got busted a couple of years ago.
Okay.
We actually went through it.
But just so people know.
There was 4 guys trying to break into my house, and me being here on my own, I was crippled at the time. I could barely walk.
Yeah.
I panicked and I called the police. And at the time, I had 75 plants on the go.
Got you.
And I got busted. Now, as part of a group called Seed Our Future, this gets so convoluted. It goes back to a conversation I had years ago with Durham Police.
Sure.
Now, I had a conversation with the former PCC for Durham Police, Ron Hogg.
So that's the Police Crime Commissioner, Ron Hogg,
Yes, that's right, the late Crime Commissioner.
And that was for County Durham, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
Got you, mate.
Now, at the time, I had my background. I've got to explain. It's all government stuff. I'm an IT tech by trade. Applied that trade across every government organisation going. I went to Iraq in 2003 to gain a security clearance. Yeah. That allowed us to go to work for the likes of British Aerospace, GCHQ, the police, MPS, CPS, DWP, the whole bloody lot. So the way they do things is the way I do things. You follow procedures because they've been put in place to make sure that systems work correctly.
Yeah,
I've got complete respect for the chain of command and all that sort of thing. So I went and looked at the charges. So cannabis is legislated for as a Schedule 1 controlled substance.
Okay.
I went to which means it's got no medicinal benefit and a high propensity for abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So I went looking on the Pays Code G. The police have to have justification for arrest, and the only thing that gives them justification for arrest is that Schedule 1 status, because it says it's this harmful drug and all the rest of it. So I went looking for that evidence. I spent about 3 weeks going through every government agency I could trying to find it, and I couldn't find it. So eventually I got in touch with Durham Police and I asked them to direct us to it. They told us that the lady I talked to said she couldn't direct us to it, but she would get Ron Hug to give us a buzz later.
Mm-hmm.
So Ron Hug gave us a buzz later, and I asked him to direct us to it. And he told us that he couldn't. When I asked him why not, he told us because it doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah, but what do you mean it doesn't exist? If it doesn't exist, then how can people be getting charged? That's just the way it is.
So
there's literally no evidence behind the charges. People are being defrauded on an industrial scale.
Yeah. So Ron Hogg's not in post anymore, is he? I'm just trying to get up to speed.
He's dead.
Oh, he's passed on.
Yes,
so what's the crack with the new PCC? Are they having a similar view?
Oh, you know all this crap with the NOS at the minute? That's all being led by Joy Allen, who's the current chief of police in Durham.
So a complete 180 from Ron Hogg then, is it like?
Oh yeah, completely, yeah.
And is she linked to the Labour Party at all? Is that?
I have no idea. I've got no idea on the politics.
I know the PCC in Northumberland is like Kim McGuinness and she's Labour, so I don't know if it was the same.
Yeah, I'm kind of out of the picture on all of that side now. Right. To be honest, I've done my best to avoid a lot of it over the last couple of years because it just becomes so bloody stressful. Knowing everything that I know and having sat with like various legal experts and everything that I've seen over the last couple of years, I'm kind of shocked. I mean, I look at my CV now not as something that I used to have pride in, you know, like here's my bit, doing my bit for the country and all this, working for all these different government organizations. Like now I look at it as a rap sheet of complicity. When you really get down to the real bigger picture of all of this, it's absolutely mental. I mean, you've got one slide there, Henry Ford.
Yeah,
well, I can't remember the exact.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Aye, we had looked and seen his eyes, by the way, before you tell us.
He was a complete Nazi, so I'm going to give him that one. But on this, he was
eyes
correct.
Of evil. I'm going to read this out just for audio people, mate. So this is from Henry Ford. Why use up the forests which were centuries in the making and the mines which required ages to lay down if we can get the equivalent of forest and mineral products in the annual growth of the hemp fields? Interesting. So tell us more.
Exactly. Now, you think about that. Now, if he commissioned a study in 1925 that concluded with only 6% of land set aside for industrialized cannabis cultivation, America would have been energy independent without the need for fossil fuels.
Right.
That is completely huge. That means the likes of Exxon, BP, Shell, all of their business model would have been completely obliterated because of this one resource.
Got you.
Now you've got another slide there, Harry Anslinger one. Can you bring that up for us, please?
No problem, mate. I think I've got it right here. 2 seconds. This is the one, I believe. There we go. Right, I'll read it out for the audio people. This is Harry J. Anslinger. There are 100,000 total marijuana smokers in the US, and most are Negroes, Hispanics, Filipinos, and entertainers. Their satanic music, jazz, and swing result from marijuana usage. This marijuana causes white women to seek sexual relations with Negroes, entertainers, and any other. Is this the like sort of reefer madness era, the like 1930s, Trev? Is that the
Exactly that. So basically, everybody right now is going cold and hungry to prop up the energy companies for activities that can be viewed on any porn channel instantly.
Right, unpack that for us. There's a lot to think about. Tell us more.
Well, as I said, if we followed the Henry Ford suggestion in 1925 and gone with industrialized cannabis cultivation for energy independence, rather than following what Harry Anslinger said in 1937, the energy companies wouldn't have a leg to stand on. We'd be using industrialized cannabis now instead of fossil fuels and forestry.
So, like, since we last spoke, there's been a lot of legalization around the world. I think it was 2016 we last did one of these. What has happened as a result of that legalization to sort of move this type of stuff forward? I'm not just talking about like sort of people actually smoking it recreationally or medically. I'm talking about this bigger picture stuff that you're talking about. Has it like nudged that in any positive direction?
It seems to have. I mean, a lot of it seems to be absolutely mental as well. I mean, it's always the same. It's always like your different economic interests trying to slow things down and make it so that these other interests have still got their place in the market. Because I mean, there's I mean, if you can make stuff like cottonized fibers from your hemp sticks and stems, there's your cotton industry gone. I mean, for me, the most exciting project around is one is a company called Gravitas Carbatura.
Yeah.
Now, what they're doing is they're setting up these it's a 5-acre site on a 1-acre piece of land. So you got like 5 acres of it.
Is this in the UK? Is it?
No, it's actually in Florida at the moment. When they're working.
Yeah.
And what they're going to do is they're going to grow hemp en masse in hydroponics, which is going to be water reclamation, carbon capture, and the results of it. It's all going to be energy independent. It's all going to work with. They're going to use all the biomass to generate it, and then what they knock out, the biochar can be turned into stuff like graphene. Do you know much about graphene at all?
I don't, and I was just about to ask you about it, so tell me more.
Right. Graphene, for me, is the game changer in all of this. Graphene is a layer of carbon that is 1 atom thick. It's lighter than air, stronger than steel. It's more conductive than copper. If you put 100 degrees at one end of it, you'll get 100 degrees at the other end of it instantly. In between will be completely cool. Yeah, effectively a semiconductor. Now, at present, we make it from coal, and it costs something. I mean, numbers are probably off now, but at the time it was something like $2 billion per ton to make from coal.
Yeah.
Or making it from the fibers of weed, it's about $500 per ton.
Right.
You know how British Volt have just shut down in Ashington?
Yeah, they do.
Why aren't we tapping into applied graphene materials in Middlesbrough to start making graphene batteries, which outperform lithium? Or
well, I mean, we know about lithium, don't we? Because there's this whole like sort of minerals and war, and a lot of it's around lithium.
So, exactly. I mean,
it's for mobile phones. We need that, isn't it? Isn't that what
it's for everything? About? Literally everything. Lithium. I mean, lithium-ion batteries, your phones, your. I'm not sure what else it goes in. I know it goes into a lot of batteries. Well, but yeah, they're talking about there's $1 trillion worth of deposits in Afghanistan, but they're talking about opening a lithium mine in Durham, and you've got Durham? All of the
Whereabout?
Do you not know about this?
I don't know about it now.
No, I can't remember whereabouts it is, but they're talking about opening a lithium mine in Durham. There's another one in Cornwall, which is already causing havoc down there.
So do you think it's possible that, like, we'll talk about oil wars and things. Do you think we're going into an era of lithium wars? Do you think that?
That's what all of this is over, man. It literally, it's all wars are resource wars. I mean, I remember standing at a place called Concrete Beach at the back of Basra Airport, 2003, when I worked there.
Well,
along the horizon, you've got several stacks that are flaring. They're now known as sacrifice zones because of the amount of people that are getting leukemia and all that sort of thing around it.
Right.
Now and again, I would get trips down to Kuwait, and to get to Kuwait, you had to go through the highway of death. I'm presuming you've seen pictures of that at some point.
Yeah, definitely. There's all kinds at the side of the road, IEDs, that kind of thing.
Seeing pictures doesn't do it justice. Well, seeing all of that, when I discovered the energy sector with cannabis, that it sort of highlighted all of that. It's like, why are we doing all of this to various countries, to Iraq, to Palestine, to Yemen, when all the resources that we can have from our farmers' fields?
Yeah.
It's none of it makes sense to me. It's the only thing that makes it make sense is that economics.
Yeah, definitely.
To bring this home for everybody watching this, to really make it to highlight. Right now, you're going to be seeing big fields of rape coming up. big fields of yellow rape.
Yeah.
We only farm rape for its seed oil, and it will only produce 120 gallons per acre. If you were to be farming hemp instead, you would get anywhere from 300 to 1,000 gallons of seed oil per acre. That's 0.2% THC hemp.
Mm-hmm.
If you to remove the THC cap, that acre becomes 20 to 30 times more productive.
Yeah.
And if you tap into hydroponics, like the Gravitas Carbatura project, you can increase that yield again by around 500%.
Wow. And that's within the same sort of space, aye?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So effectively, that's why economics is all behind this. A resource that offers abundance is an anomaly in a system of debt-based scarcity.
Mm-hmm. Got you.
Yeah. I really don't care about cannabis as a drug, but as a resource, it's a game changer for all of us.
I mean, you made a pretty compelling case for it there, and like just to come back with it, give us a minute. Like what I'm hearing is it's like a lot of the stuff that we're researching, which is like why are things like hitting a brick wall when it's rational that we would employ these things, and obviously we see the corruption and vested interests in certain sectors of society, decision makers, positions of power. So I mean, obviously it's a big wonder, like why aren't we doing these things in the times of scarcity that we have when people can't even afford to put heat in their radiators, can't afford to eat. And I think we've learned through the pandemic that the people at the top do not give a monkey's about us. So if we were to take all of those things as read, we can now start to understand why these things aren't being used, I would suggest, based on what you're saying.
Yeah, it's exactly that, because the thing about all their stocks and shares that this devalues. You know, I mean, what's it do for Esso, for BP, Shell, Exxon, just on oil alone?
Yeah.
And you've got all the other 50,000 applications that come with this plant, which are expanded massively with the introduction of graphene. We've got Applied Graphene Materials just down the road is the leading lab for developing the technology, and it's just down at the Teesside Industrial Park. Mm-hmm. Just up the road from me in Concert is a company called Thomas Swan, who are an international distributor of graphene.
Yeah.
I'm looking at open fields here. Meanwhile, there's a company in Cockfield, the Healing Cauldron. They're a CBD company. You've got in Teesside, you've got Teesside Cannabis Club, which are a police-backed recreational club. So effectively, you've got medical, you've got recreational. We're missing the industrial to really kick things off in the area.
I don't think,
and that creates tens of thousands of jobs.
Yeah, I get that. Like, I mean, I share the same sort of vision for it as you do. I mean, one of the things that's happened, like in the last week, I don't know if you've seen it, about the developments in Germany. They've shied away from. They've shied away from like the big sort of like California model where it's like, you know, shop front and you go in and buy it like at a shop, and it's more like the Spanish socios method. For people who don't know, it's like, you know, at Barcelona, the football club, it's the 51% thing. It's like communities like manage things themselves. So they've went for that. Personally, I favour that. I think that's a better model. It's more in the hands of the people. But that doesn't account for the industrialisation side of it. So how does the likes of Germany get from that model to the industrialisation, and what barriers would they face, if any?
Honestly, mate, I'm not entirely sure, because young Simba, he went off and done a tour of the States a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And he went to a lot of these massive grow facilities, and they've literally got mountains and mountains of sticks and stems sat rotten in the sun.
Oh man, that's no good.
Exactly. I mean, they're making right now it's 8.2 million per acre for flowers alone, and then everything else just goes to waste.
So it's literally just the offcuts, like the sticks and the stems that people don't smoke, that can be used for the things that you're describing. Well, it's just madness, isn't it? It's
exactly.
Just madness. It's been thrown away.
Exactly. It makes no sense to me whatsoever when you've got companies like Gravitas who could be setting up. I mean, this Gravitas Carbatura thing, for me, we've got 15,000 sewer outlets in the UK.
Well,
if you were to put one of those outlets on the top of every single outlet, You've got water reclamation, so it doesn't matter what those plants are being fed on because it's all being used for biomass. It fucks it all for drugs in any case because nobody's going to want to smoke anything comes with it. We're hint of late night bus stop.
Yeah.
It's for me, I would put one of those things on top of every outlet, a sewer outlet, and you've got water treatment, carbon capture, mass resource production. You've got everything that you could need, everything all in one on a local basis.
Yeah.
This is now mass resource production with your 51%. Bring it on.
Defo, man. I'm just looking through some of the comments just to see people are talking about the graphene. They're talking about like diesel. Right, I'm just going to find if there's a question for you because I'm trying to wade through a very vibrant comment section to find them.
This is
Slaz is on. Slaz has definitely got a question for you. He's put a question mark at the end of it. How's your court case going?
Basically, they bent me over. What happens when you go to court is I have to say, it's one of the more, I was completely shocked by what I've witnessed in this. Mm-hmm. Despite the fact that I handed over reams of information that the police had committed fraud and that the foundation for what they're doing is the racist American policing of the 1950s, which is all confirmed in Parliament and all the rest of it. Yeah, I was terrorized into complying with fraud because I face a politically and racially motivated threat of 6 years inside if I didn't comply with fraud, because they kind of give us evidence that cannabis meets this Schedule 1, Schedule 2 status. Yeah. So I ended up with I decided to go rather than spend 6 years inside. I went with a suspended for 2 years with a £156 fine. But even now, 2 years later, I'm still going through that whole complaints process because I'm going through the IOPC and all that sort of thing. Now, one of the last projects I was involved with was a group called Seed Our Future. Now, this gentleman called Guy Coxall and Steve Harrison, Guy Coxall from Hemp Tank and Steve Harrison of Flora Fusion in Fife, another CBD company. We sort of collated the case behind Seed Our Future, where the police are engaged in a criminal conspiracy, fraud, and terrorism. Mm-hmm. If you go to the seedourfuture.co.uk, on there you will find a document called "No Evidence, No Crime." Aye. That details the whole case. That was sent out to every police force in the country in, I think it was November of 2020 and October 2020. Every MP, November 2020. That effectively should have been filtered down to the lower orders, but it never ever was, and it's been ignored by the judiciary and all the rest of it. Got you. That's now currently starting to get somewhere because there's a gentleman that Guy is working with who has gone litigant in person, so he's bypassed the solicitors who are going to bend you over. Forget about them. The case is going to be heard in August, apparently, but I can honestly see what's going to happen is the same thing I've seen happen so many times with the likes of Jeff Ditchfield and all the others. They're going to wait till the very last minute and they're going to say, charges dismissed, there's not in the public interest. Got you. And then maintain that illegal status because they cannot have us win. It's as simple as that. So
is it August you were saying there that they should come to a conclusion for you, eh?
Hopefully, yeah. Well, not for me. This is for this other gentleman. They're actually going to have a proper jury trial where everything's going to be done on human rights and the law. The whole lot is this guy's really going to go to bat with it. Like,
got you, man. I've got time for another couple more questions if you have, like.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Right, Jackson, can I ask what we do think is more detrimental, a higher THC content per plant versus a greater involvement of chemical enhancements for a greater yield per plant?
Oh, God, definitely get rid of the chemicals, 100%. The whole thing around THC is just, again, it's that thing of demonizing the plant because of its productivity. If you've got that low THC cap, 0.2%, then it limits the productivity of the plant. That remove the THC cap, that allows it to get that massively productive thing where, instead of your going to Saudi to fill your car, you're going to Farmer Blogs.
Yeah.
There's actually there's a patent out there for THC as a neuroprotectant. This thing about if you're worried about smoking it, get rid of the baccy. The baccy is the one that's causing the issue, and there's 75% of UK people smoke it unfiltered in their joints.
Yeah.
And it's actually been found to be a causal factor in schizophrenia now, because it's
the combination between the two.
No, just the tobacco.
Right. Okay.
It's just
Tell us more.
Now, if you look at the very, I actually went over this with Mike Barnes, who was a professor of neurology at Newcastle University.
I've actually spoken to him before. He's a good
yeah, he's a really nice guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Now, when you ingest cannabis, it sparks a process called neurogenesis in the hippocampus and amygdala regions of the brain, which is the creation of new brain cells, new pathways.
Mm-hmm.
Tobacco is a neural trimmer. What that does is it breaks down those pathways and those brain cells. So I asked Mike Barnes, if cannabis sparks the creation of new brain cells in those areas of the brain, whilst tobacco destroys them, how can it possibly be the weed that's causing schizophrenia?
Mm-hmm.
And he said he didn't know. It's this whole demonization of THC. Forget it. Just go for it. Enjoy it as much as you like. It's simply get rid of the baccy. If you've got mental health concerns, when it comes to smoking weed, cut out the baccy.
When I
smoke, I only ever smoke blunts.
Got you. I mean, I don't smoke with baccy whatsoever. I'll use it like a vaporizer. Like
I like my vape as well. I've got a little Pax 3. But to be honest, I prefer my yours. I get more from that. When I'm making them, I like to make my own, and I do a combination of 3-part THC, 1-part CBD, 50 to 100 milligram per dose, 3 to 4 times a day.
Good for you, man. I mean, is that helping you?
Oh, massively, yeah. I mean, but I'm also addicted to prescription drugs as well now, thanks to the police. And I'm on dihydrocodeine and pregabalin 3 to 4 times.
I need to ask you, why is that down to the police?
Because I was using those when I got done by the police, but I was using them sporadically, just as and when the pain and throughout my spine got too bad.
Understand.
I used weed to manage it the rest of the time. Without the grow and all the rest of it, and having everything to look after myself, I had no other option but to turn to the stuff from the doctors.
So you couldn't afford this one
all day, every day.
Yeah. Got you.
I mean, I went to the doctors recently to talk to them about it, and reckon that my next step in pain management would be morphine. So I'm doing my best just to manage with what I am.
So I'd like to add to what you're saying is, like, I had a spinal surgery in 2017, and I had the last of me opiates on the night of the thing, and then after that, all I used for pain relief was paracetamol and cannabis.
See,
it was mainly the cannabis. It was like, I was like basically learning to walk again for a year, and it just provided a lot of relief for us, and also anti-inflammatory properties.
Exactly, anti-inflammatory, muscle relaxing, but there's also the mental health aspect of getting your head into another place where you can deal with that sort of pain.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good point.
It's helped massively with that.
Massively. I found that too, like, because it was just like, obviously if I was stuck on my back, I was ruminating too much and whatever, and it just seemed to hack that, and it just melted that away. And especially when I was basically sleeping on the floor for a year afterwards, so just to iron it out. So I needed something, and I'll be honest, when I got better, I was sick of it, and I had about 3 months without smoking because I just couldn't handle it anymore. It was just too much. But that was just me. It was because at the time, and I know this now, I didn't have access to specific strains. I couldn't trust what I was getting, which brings me to this question here, I believe, from Glasgow the Red. Does Trev think we'll see legalization within a decade, obviously in the UK?
You know what it is? For the last decade, I've been hearing we're going to see change within the next 5 to 10 years. And I'm sick of hearing it. I wish they'd just get on with it. Honestly, I mean, just decrim the plant, get it off. I mean, this is one of the things I'm going through with the IOPC at the minute. The placement of cannabis within the Misuse of Drugs Act is a crime in itself. It should not be there. It's an act of terrorism to enforce legislation around it.
Yeah,
and we've shown everybody who's watching that today, and it is 100% confirmed. I mean, it was actually quite funny when I got turned over. I had to do a statement for the police, and I've got a quality control call, and it turns out that the guy who I was talking to, he started telling me all about the very good evidence for cannabinoids in the treatment of spinal cord injury. Turns out he comes from a medical background. I told him I got convicted for cultivation of something that they reckon has got no medicinal value. And he turned around and said, well, that's not right.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, and I also asked him if he knew what the foundation of the enforcement was. And he turned around and he came out with the classic line, and we just follow guidelines. In word. And it's like, so you're literally just following guidelines. You're not actually doing your job and doing your due diligence and making sure that you've got the evidence to back up the charges. You're not just following guidelines. And so you're committing an act of terrorism because the foundation of this is the political racism of the 1950s.
What I want to ask you about, because you mentioned this at the top of the show, and we've got a couple of minutes. You said that recently, within the last 6 weeks, somebody tried to turn you over, machetes at the house and whatever. Is that the second? Is it happened twice? Because you said it happened.
Yeah.
Is that the second time?
It is, yes.
If this was legalized, that wouldn't be happening to you. Because people wouldn't be coming to turn your bloody house over because weed would be everywhere. And that's what it is. It's bringing people like you into criminality, but also access to hardened criminals. And because you've got these these gangs who it's very different from when I was young. It was obviously gangs did move weed around, but it wasn't like now where it's hyper violent. You know what I mean? It's like but it would just be like a thing, It would be like because they're all criminals.
Again, this is part of my complaint with the police. The police currently spend £200 million and 1 million man hours per year enforcing cannabis prohibition.
Aye.
It would cost 300 million to replace that 20,000 police officers that have gone.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't we taking that 200 million and putting police on the streets?
Yeah.
1 million man hours put towards the fraud to get some of the money back from the PPE fraud. God knows the sexual offences department, they're desperately in need of the resources.
Indeed. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, we've seen from Colorado, certainly from when Denver started, we've seen that economically this can only be generally a good thing if it's managed right in terms of taxation and.
Yeah, again, Colorado, perfect example, right? Council taxes is currently the leading form of debt in the country, and they're about to go 5% to pay for cuts to the police.
Mm-hmm.
In the first year of legalization, Colorado, a state of 5.5 million people, bust their state budget targets by $66 million.
Right.
So if now they held a referendum to see whether that money was going to go back to the people in a rebate or whether it was going to go into local services, which obviously it went into local services. That $66 million is just going up and up every year, going into all local services. So if people like me were working, I mean, with the skills I've already developed over the years, everything from team leading, management, and all the rest of it, and the skills I developed whilst growing weed, a good grower in the States is making $100,000 per year at the minute. A master gardener, who's somebody who'll be overseeing operations and all the rest of it, is $250,000 per year, which was obviously the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
$250,000 a year puts me into the 50% tax bracket, which was $125,000 per year to the tax man, which puts how many police on the streets?
Yeah.
I'm only one person.
That's the crack.
How many others out there have got that potential right now?
Britain is going to be left behind. We've seen what's happened with Germany, and part of their whole thing.
The country is absolutely fucked. I mean, for me, look at what the Quayside used to be back in our day.
Yeah.
You know, the like early 2000s, the place was absolutely jumping. I mean, I
Definitely.
say what you like about the Tony Blair era. I agree, he was a terrorist and all the rest of it, but I made a hell of a lot of money out of that time, and I had a hell of a good time. The town was absolutely jumping. The Kevin Keegan era, the place was. That time in Newcastle was. It's hard to put into
Brilliant.
words, but you know exactly what I mean.
I was there, mate. I know exactly. We were putting raves on at the time, man. We knew exactly what you're saying.
And exactly. Now, can you imagine a cannabis culture down the Quayside?
Mm-hmm. And it needs
You know, the likes of Amsterdam on the Quayside. We've got links to the place in any case. Let's just do it.
Aye.
You just think of all the people that can get to work.
I'm all for it, and I want to be part of it. I'll tell you now, one of the things that I want to do, if I ever have the capital in the future and the time's right, is to open either a social club in Newcastle or when it's legal, a shop front. That's what I'd like to do, because it's like, I'll speak as a personally, like weed in terms of the medical side of it. I arguably wouldn't be here if I didn't have access to decent sativa, which melts away anxiety and depression for me. And I have to word it like that because of obviously the platforms that we're using. I'm speaking from a personal perspective, not as a journalist. I can only speak anecdotally, and that's what I'm doing. So anecdotally, my health has improved, mental and physical, because of putting cannabis products in my body.
You see, what I want to do is to treat it as well. I want to use it for the medical and recreational benefits of it, but I also want to use it as a resource so that I can have a German Shepherd rescue centre that is all financed by weed.
Brilliant. I am all for it, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And I think also, let's end the show on that wonderful thing, because you mentioned dogs and weed, which is two of my favorite things. Put them together.
Two of my favorite things too, mate.
I tell you what, it's been lush catching up here just on a human level, pal. I'm pleased to see you looking well. You know, it's been a tough few years for all, and pleased you're coming through the other side of it, and just didn't get done in by people with machetes.
I'll do my very best to.
Right, thank you very much, brother. I'll do all the sort of last bits and just see you off now. But I'll be in touch, and if you need any help with anything, just give us a shout as ever. Eh?
Not a bother, shall do. Thank you very much, Young, and thank you very much for taking it easy, man.
Thank you very much. Bye bye. That was Trev there. Also forgot to mention he did this at very short notice, because I woke up feeling really healthy this morning and for the first time since the crash. So thanks to Trev for hopping on 420 to educate her. Thanks to everybody in the comments as well. Glasgow saying, got a GSD. That is Trev, much love. Jez is saying, got good informative stuff. Slaz, cheers, gents. Matty's saying, Trev, I'm at work in training, but on your grow, bruv. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for being here. If you want to support my work, go to patreon.com/cowdaily. Also, link in the description for PayPal if you want to make a one-off contribution to our work. Just in terms of my health and getting better, we're going to be going back to a regular time, which for international people will be 10 a.m. GMT, that's UK time. So obviously factor that in wherever you are. We're going to try something new as well, where I've been looking at how other people do live streams. So we're going to log on at 9:30 and just keep it light, just have a bit of chat and all that. Try that out for a bit, see what goes on. And then 10 o'clock we'll kick in with some guests. Tomorrow we have a lad from the Biryami Foundation, I believe. I think I've got that right, called Ian. He's doing some great work over in Nepal, trying to bring clean drinking water to people. So we're going to be talking about that with him tomorrow. That'll close the week off nicely. And then next week, tune in and find out who's going to be around. Cheers, chaps. All the very best. See who's in the comments. Happy 420, Slaz. All the best. See you later, Leon. Much love. Zoe. Top guy. Must be referring to Trev. That's Stuart John Robert McCormick. Cormac. And Jacqueline is saying, come here. That was really good and informative. I'm glad you're getting better. Let's hope it's permanent. I think it might be this time. I hope so. Awesome stuff from Jez. Right, Jez, all the best, everybody. I will see you tomorrow with Ian, the lad. I don't know if he's actually calling in from Nepal or not. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Anyway, we'll be back with Ian, who's doing good work in Nepal with drinking water tomorrow. All the best. See you later.